I am going to share my fourth quarantine form for wellness. And this one I am calling anchoring in your body. And it can be done standing, which is great for people that can stand. It can actually be done if you can lay on your back in the bed. And if you can only lay on your side or in some other position, you can create this as well. In fact, I have done it side lying. When I was in bed, could not get out of bed, and knew I needed to strengthen my body by getting in it and letting go of the feeling of helplessness. So let me show the chair, the seating position. You want to sit on your sit bones, and in order to find those, if you don't know where they are, sit down on a hard chair and wiggle your butt. You can maybe even hear my sit bones responding. Hear that pop? That's my sit bone. Okay, so you don't want to have to be feeling that. Get your chair high enough that your knees are lower than the top of your hips, even if it's just an inch or two, because that will allow you to rest on your central channel while you're doing this, to rest on the point from your perineum to the top of your head. So the purpose of this exercise is to create a rod that you can rest your energy on and that is always with you. And the difference between that and a sense of desperation that has us go, somebody help me, what am I going to do? Somebody, I can't do it myself. And I hope that I just demonstrated clearly the leaving your body to grasp for help, because you can actually look for help outside of yourself while actively being help with inside yourself. So the way that I work with this rod, when it doesn't come automatically, because I've worked with it for so long, that usually when it's called on for others, it appears like that. I'll be sitting with somebody, and I will be sitting with a complete anchor that they can self-reference, as if looking at themselves in a mirror and feeling the same rod I'm holding inside of themselves. And that's a beautiful gift to be able to give on demand, but I find I cannot always, when alone and in a state of worry or desperation, call that in myself. So when I find myself without that rod inside, because it's really easy for me to take my hands and, oh, I got that rod. So that's an important first step, is getting the exterior rod. But the second thing that needs to happen to strengthen your core is to recreate that same rod. So now I'm doing it by creating the rod in front of me and slowly bringing it in closer and closer to my body until I actually feel it being replicated as a stabilizing and strengthening force in my central channel. And you go at the rate you can go, because first you want to create the rod. Secondly, you want to replicate it in your internal perception. And then scan it for weaknesses or places where that perception doesn't find anything. And give special attention to those areas. And I recommend doing this over several days before moving on to the second part of this exercise. But perhaps you already have this internal stability anchor that your breath can rest on and your mind can rest on. And you've developed it in your meditation practice, and you're really pretty solid on that. The second part of this exercise is using your perception. Create the exact same rod behind you. So you may feel it, you may hear it, you may actually see it in your mind's eye. A rod up and down right behind your back. So the trick here is to give the same frontward, because frontward is where we're constantly receiving. It's the yin side. So it's very easy to perceive here. But to bring it in through your back, it's almost like you have to turn around and create the sensation of the front side of that openness on the back side and receive that rod in the same way through the back. And it's actually sort of trippy when you realize that you can do this, that you can that you can open up the back side to receive and pull that rod in from there. And if you're doing this as a full practice, at this point you will have rod outside, rod outside. Those are your mirrors. Those are your what you're calibrating around. Rod inside internally. And from the back, that back rod and the front rod are coming together and making themselves into one thing. And then you rest on that. It's very important for wellness to have a place to rest within ourselves. And I'm hoping that this video has given you a place to rest. In the blessing that all may safely rest.